Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Game Develop Repeat. Today, I want to discuss and consider the idea that a good project is often a scary project. Not all scary projects are good, not all good projects are scary, but just because a project is scary and intimidating doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. In fact, it might mean that you should do it. Maybe. Right? But if the thing keeping you from doing the project is, I'm going to have to learn this new skill and that's intimidating and it's not something that I'm already comfortable with, then I should really focus on the things I'm comfortable with. I don't have all the resources that I need for this, so I should put it off until I have these other resources and so on and so on and so on. I think there are a lot of reasons why good projects are often kind of scary, but the most important one being it probably means you're emotionally invested in it. And if you're emotionally invested in it, that's going to come across, right? And you're going to have more reasons to work on it once you decide to commit to it. Why am I talking about this today? One, it's important to me. Two, it's been on my mind because I've realized that I need to dive into some art skills. I would like to get better at visual art. It is always holding me back. It's always the thing that makes me go, I don't want to work on that game idea because I don't know how I'm going to do the art assets for that. It's always keeping me from exploring really fun, really cool ideas. I go, if I want to do that the way I want to do it, it requires a lot of animation. I go, I guess I can't do that project. And then I put off all the fun projects that I want to do. Or I could just develop the art skills and I could have a scary project where I'm not ready. And I could just be chasing the skills a little bit as I'm creating the project and maybe it becomes a little bit messy, but maybe it's a fun little adventure. So we'll keep this one kind of short because as passionate as I am about this topic, I think there's actually not that much that has to be said about it. I think the essential takeaway message is just develop the skill, and I will call it a skill, develop the skill of doing scary stuff because it's worth doing. I think being willing to do the scary project is a skill, which means that when you're first bad at it, it's not a character flaw. When you can't do the scary project because it's too scary, that doesn't mean that you don't have what it takes because you're backing down from scary projects. I think this is a thing people fall into. No, doing a scary project is a skill in and of itself. So start with a project that's not that scary and then do something a little more scary and then a little more scary and work your way into it. Build that skill along with all the other skills that you're building. It's fine. We're game developers. We have to build every single freaking skill known to mankind, right? We have to learn too many things. Might as well learn the skill of working on things that are a little bit intimidating and not beat ourselves up for it when we don't want to jump straight into the shark infested waters and want to start out with the pool that just has one inflatable shark in it and go, let's pretend that's a real shark. That's a little scary, and then work our way forward from there. A little bit of a weird analogy, but if you've been listening to the podcast before, you know that I have the occasional weird analogy. Let's get into things. First, we'll talk about what I've been doing in the realm of gaming. It's not going to be as directly connected to the topic as usual, and then we'll talk about some development and some art stuff that I've been working on, and we'll wrap things up. All right. Thanks for joining me. This is Game Develop Repeat. I am your host, Chris. Thanks again. First things first, what am I doing in the world of gaming right now? Well, I have been wanting to make a Linux gaming laptop and doing absolutely nothing about it. That's where I'm at right now. I keep wanting to do it and then going, you know what, man, maybe not right now because I have to buy new hardware for it and I don't want to buy a whole nother laptop just to set it up to be a Linux gaming machine, and I'm not even going to game much on it. Like, my desktop is already really good for gaming. Like, there's very low benefit to doing this, right? But the one benefit that does make it a good project, even though it is kind of a scary project and it's kind of excessive in a lot of ways, the one really good benefit is I'll learn more about Linux, which would be very nice because I would like to transition to just full-on Linux one day, but I don't think today is that day. I don't think we're there yet. I think it's going to be a little while, but I would love to make a Linux gaming machine. That would be very cool. I've been staring at my Steam wish list and going, I should I buy this? Should I buy that? Should I buy the other? You know, I've been doing one of those. I opened up an old Final Fantasy Legend game the other day on Steam. Final Fantasy Legend 1, I think, which I had played on Game Boy forever ago. I was like, ooh, this is interesting. And it just reminded me of old school game design. And I was like, oh, yeah, things were really different in the 90s. Things were. Wait, when was that game even released? It might have been. How old is Final Fantasy Legend? Final Fantasy Legend. That might have been pre 90s. When was that? I think it was. Ooh, 89? Oh, in Japan it was 89. Wow. So I was close, but I was off by a little bit. In North America, it was 1990. So for me, I would have played it, mid late 90s. But, whatever. Very, very different game design back then. There were things where I started playing it and I was like, oh my God, I only have one guy and I'm getting rocked whenever I go fight or hit him encounter. Do I just have to grind? Like, how am I going to get back? Oh, wait, I can recruit people. And there was a guy that told me that, but I kind of half paid attention to it. It's like, oh no, you have to pay attention to every little detail when you're playing with these older games. And even then, you might misunderstand something that they tell you. So I really appreciate popping into the past for just a moment and going, oh wait, what was going on back then? What were things like back in the day? And it's kind of cool. So I did that. I've been looking at my wish list. There's a game that I took off of my wish list a long time ago, and it was Atelier Ryza. And I looked into it, I think because it had a fishing mini game and it had a like alchemy thing. And I've removed it from my wish list because it had that like, there's a certain version of an anime aesthetic that I get annoyed at. And there were elements of the aesthetic that annoyed me. And I was like, okay, maybe not. Maybe we don't play this game. But Atelier Ryza, the mechanics seemed interesting. The vibe of the game seemed like weird. Okay, here's how I'm going to explain it. And I don't know how to explain it without getting too detailed here. But the thing that bothers me is what I'm going to call cutesy fan service. I think that's going to be my mild way of putting it. The old 20,000 year dragon thing, the 20,000-year-old dragon kind of thing. If a game or a show gives me even like 2% of that vibe, I start having absolutely zero interest in it. Now I'm still looking at that game and going, I got to look into these gameplay mechanics. I want to see what is going on with the fishing minigame and the alchemy, and maybe I just look into like some Let's Plays of it and just skip around and find those portions of the game because I'm always curious about minigame mechanics in JRPGs, and supposedly that one is quite successful. So somebody tell me whether or not I should look deeper into that series. I'm sure some of y'all have played it. Tell me how bad it is, how good it is it worth it? What's the deal with the Atelier Ryza games, right? It's a series that I actually haven't heard that much about, but I always peek into. I'm also considering playing Eliza and Slay the Princess. I'm looking at a bunch of visual novels because, and this is going to surprise you guys, I think I'm considering making a visual novel. I have a game idea that is a visual novel game idea. I've always loved writing, and one of my ideas pivoted hard towards visual novel, and honestly, every idea I've ever had has had this like deep underlying story current. I've always got this big story idea tucked away. So I'm thinking maybe I play a few visual novels, get a feel for it. Now, if y'all have recommendations, okay, this is not a beg for engagement situation. I don't use YouTube comments and all that. Like, I don't mess with that. I never log into YouTube and check the comments. I apologize if you've left a YouTube comment. I'll probably respond to it in like 4 months and I'll say, hey, thanks so much. This is a genuine request for tips here because I started doing this search a little bit on SteamDB and looked at like game stats and all these things and tried to start sorting through visual novels a little bit. Do you have visual novel suggestions that are not romance visual novels? I've got Eliza on the wish list. I've got stuff that's not visual novel, but is just like story rich point and click, right? I've got like Norco. Yeah, I've got some other ideas out here, right? There's some stuff that I'm like, okay, maybe we try this, maybe we try that. Slay the Princess, that interests me. Now I'm trying to do. Okay, I feel like every visual novel that I'm thinking of has either like an intense horror element to it. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to have the idea that I want to make is something that I don't know if there's like much of a market for. I don't know. It is a visual novel about it. The underlying theme is about personal growth. I think that's the underlying theme, right? The underlying theme, the big story theme here is personal growth, right? And I want to explore that idea, but in the face of great challenges, right? And like a self-awareness thing involved in that. Like I want to really convey some like, I don't want the character to be like this perfect blank slate dude, right? Like, I don't know. I want to explore visual novels that have a lot more focus on a protagonist that has significant flaws and exploring the emotional depth of the protagonist. I'd like to experience games that have that because that will give me a lot of perspective on the genre that I don't have. Because right now I think of visual novels and I just kind of go, okay, whatever, visual novels. So if anybody has recommendations for some just banger visual novels that have a lot of emotional depth and a lot of character and have a protagonist that is not just a blank slate, but a protagonist whose perspective you're kind of forced into, because I think that's the angle that I'm looking at for the story that I want to tell. I kind of want to create a pretty aggressive, you are this person situation. Maybe. I don't know. I'm exploring options. I'm thinking about it. I'm looking around, and I need to experience more visual novels because it's a genre that I haven't really played. So even if I don't end up doing this game idea, it would be nice to learn a bit more about visual novels and play a few. So if anybody has recommendations, you know the best place is the Discord. Hop in, message me, chat in any of the channels, and let me know. You can also email me. You don't have to get in the Discord and do all this stuff. Email me at anxiousbuddhagames@gmail.com with visual novel recommendations. You can just be like, don't even reply to this email. Here's my recommendations, and I won't reply. All right? If you don't say don't reply, then I'll probably reply and say thanks and so on and so on. But don't feel the need to do it in any kind of engagement way. You don't have to do Discord. You don't have to do it in the YouTube comments. You don't have whatever. I just want genuine recommendations. So if you have any, hit me up. If you don't have any, don't hit me up. It's fine. No worries. Anyway, that's kind of where I'm at with games right now. I still haven't finished Expedition 33. I absolutely want to. I talk about it to anyone who I think might have played some of it. I bring it up and I go, don't spoil anything, but let's talk about Expedition 33. I'm pretty deep into it, and I don't spoil anything for them and so on. Fields of Mystria is cool. I'm still slowly working my way through things. I've still got Dune Awakening. I still get the urge to open it up for some reason. I opened up Guild Wars 2 earlier today. I just want to go fishing in it. I'll probably do that right before bed tonight. I probably shouldn't because I've had a migraine for 3 days straight. I should probably just sleep. But, here we are. I don't know. We'll see what I do. I probably am just going to end up going straight to sleep. Okay, that is enough about what I've been doing in the world of gaming. Kind of a weird week, kind of an odd one. I had the urge to buy a gaming laptop and then turn it into a Linux gaming laptop. And then I was like, you know what? Now's not the time. Now's not the time to spend that much money on something so incredibly frivolous. In fact, I think there will probably never be a time to do that. But here we are. All right. Let's talk about some game development, yeah? So, as I said, I have an idea for a visual novel, right? And it's probably a dumb idea. I did the smallest amount of research into marketability of this game idea, and I went, ah, boy, that's not going to sell any copies. You know, I looked at it and went, okay, well, this is what people like in the visual novel genre, and it's not the thing that I'm thinking about making. So, okay, it either has to be proof of the ability for this game to be successful, or it is just not going to make any money, which is fine, you know, but it would be nice to make a game that people actually buy, you know? It would be a nice bonus to be like, oh, people are willing to pay money for this. But either way, I need to make some major leaps and strides in my art skills. So I've started working on drawing, because even though I'm planning on doing pixel art primarily, almost entirely, I need to know how to draw, because I need to understand perspective and I need to understand like basics of art. You know, like pixel art. This is the weird thing. I was trying to like look up like pixel art fundamental stuff, and like I feel like pixel art tutorials online are made for people who already have some amount of artistic ability, you know? Does that make sense? Because pixel art is like a subgenre of art. So if you're like, oh, how do I do pixel art? It's kind of giving you the specifics of pixel art versus just art. So like you need to learn art kind of on a fundamental level and pixel art. So I'm working out of a drawing book called, let me give you the name. It is called Fun with a Pencil by Andrew Loomis. Now, if you get this book, this is the weird disclaimer that I have to give for this book. First off, it seems great. I'm really liking it. It's pretty good. It's got very approachable instructions. I think he kind of intentionally doesn't give you every single little detail just to get you in there and get you drawing and not get you overthinking. And it starts with little cartoonish characters and all this stuff. Now, this is one of those books that is written in, 1938. So there's some really, really old-timey stuff in there that is not great. There's some racial caricatures in there towards the back of the book. Now, you don't even have to go that far in the book to get incredible value out of it. So, you know, if you want to check out the book, it's available online even. I think it's on archive.org. I'm not sure if it's public domain or not, but there you can at least find a couple pages and see whether or not it's something that you want to learn from as far as pencil sketching. But fair warning, if you pick it up and then you flip through the pages, you might have a moment where you go, whoa, I can't believe that is in this book. Well, it's from 1938, so, you know, very different time. But so far, the first few pages of it, like first 10 pages or so, have been useful, and I've discovered that I am not good at 2D visualizations of 3D space. I'm trying to mess with spheres, and I get confused at the most simple things, and honestly, I think this is going to help me with my day job, because I have to visualize rotations of 3D things all the time as an electrician. You wouldn't think that, but, you know, we run conduit, and so basically we're running these pipes and then turning them in certain directions and rotating them and all this stuff. It's very important that we be able to rotate those things in our head. So, weirdly enough, working on art may actually end up helping me with my day job. That overlap between skills is incredible. Now, I'm scared of this game idea. This is why the topic of this episode is good projects are scary. I'm scared of this project because visual novels, look, I love storytelling. I enjoy storytelling. I've written a first draft of a novel before. That is a skill that I'm not that worried about. Now, the art side of things, I am terrified of. I have no idea what I'm doing there. It's bad. It's bad, brother. It is not good. It's rough. Yeah, so I'm figuring out the fundamentals there. And honestly, focusing a game on just the storytelling thing, that's scary too. Like, I like the storytelling. I'm good with the storytelling, I think. You know, how do I put this? I think I'm better than the average person at telling a story. But I think I'm also, like, writing a story, but I think I'm also probably worse than the average writer at writing a story. You know what I mean? Like, the average person probably hasn't written a rough draft of a novel and hasn't, like, worked on a couple of short story things and all of this stuff, right? And, like, publicized their stuff, put their stuff out to the public and gotten feedback on it, right? Which means that I've had a few more experiences with it and gotten more feedback and learned a little bit and had more time with it. that doesn't mean that I'm going to hit the bar for video game stories, right? Like maybe it won't be that good. So that's a little scary because I'm a little invested in that skill. And then at the same time, telling a story is very personal. And I'm wanting to tell a personal story about growth and moving forward and learning and all of these things. And I want to tell a good story, and it's intimidating. So of course I have to do it. And of course I'm going to do it. Now, is it going to end up being a visual novel? I don't know. Am I going to end up doing this entire project? I don't know. Am I going to explore the idea? Am I going to start digging into it and start learning the art skills and start seeing what's possible and drafting it out and so on and so on? Yes. Why? Because I'm scared of the project in the way where I go, oh, I have to explore this, right? There's this thing. Okay, this is going to be a weird story, but hear me out. When I went on a hike with my buddies one day, right? Long time ago, me and a couple buddies, and we were going hiking, and we reached this creek, and there was no actual danger involved here. All right, we looked at this creek and we went, oh, we can jump over that. We'll make it. It's a little bit of a sketchy jump, but the running water was not an issue, right? Like you looked at it and you're like, all right, this is not like there's no current here. This is a creek. It is the depth of your boot, maybe at worst. Worst case scenario, you jump, you either slip or you get wet and you fall on your arms and you hit your elbows, bang up your elbows a little bit, fine, whatever. But we looked at it and it was a pretty big jump and we're like, that kind of sucks, right? Like we got to get like a running start to this thing, really jump for it and land pretty well. And like you're barely going to clear this thing. And like you don't want to land and have your foot fall into the creek. It's going to suck. We looked at it. And as soon as the thought of, we can probably jump that popped into one of our heads, it became a discussion. It became, we should jump this. And then we were like, no. We shouldn't jump this. And then I was like, well, we can though. I was like, we can. And then we were like, it's kind of, and then we didn't want to do it, but we knew that we could. And as soon as it was, we want to do this, but we know that we don't want to do it, but we know that we can, and we kind of want to do it. It was like, okay, now we have to do it, right? Does that make any sense to you? You kind of want to do it. You know that you can, but you don't want to. So then the only reason you're not doing it is because you're a little scared of it, even though you know you can pull it off. You're like, yeah, there's a small chance of failure, but I know I can pull this off. So I got to do it. You're pushing your boundaries a little bit, but you can do it and it's going to be fine and there's no real risk and whatever. So you got to do it. That's what this whole idea reminds me of. I have to explore this visual novel idea because I look at it and I go, I don't want to do it because it's kind of scary, but like I can do it. I know I can. It's a little rough, but I know I can. And I just don't want to because I kind of don't want to, but I want to do it. Like I actually want to do it, but it's a little scary. And the only reason I wouldn't do it is because it's a little scary. And I can look at it and I can go, I have this other game idea and I should be focusing on the other game idea. The other game idea is not that far along. I made basic JRPG movement tile system thing where it can create a random encounter after a certain number of tiles and you can hit certain things that starts an encounter. And I learned a little bit about the tile system, but it's not that far along. That's not a valid excuse for not exploring this idea. There is enough emotional weight behind this idea where I have to explore it. I hope that makes sense, and I hope you can relate to that. The feeling is, I want to try this. There's a little bit of risk there, but I want to do this, and I know I can do it. But there's a chance that I'll fail at it. And the only reason you don't want to do it is because there's a chance you might fail at it and you care about doing it. You got to do it. You got to do it. If the only reason is because there's a chance that you'll fail at it, you might fail at it, and that'll kind of suck. Is that the only reason that you're not doing it? Like, is that the biggest reason that you're not trying it because you might fail? And oh my God. Like, then you just have to do it. So whenever you got a scary game idea, whenever you got a scary project, and the reason that you're not doing it, the main reason that you're not doing it is because it's a little bit scary and you're like, it might fail and then it's all worthless and, I lost all that. Well, then you got to really commit to the attempt and you got to try, And if it fails, it fails. And then you can try again sometime. You can brush yourself off. If your boot got wet, get some new boots on, so you're not slipping on your next attempt, right? Do whatever you got to do to get back in there. But if you know, right, then do it. Give it a try. Jump across the creek. Land. By the way, when I did that jump, I ate it. I ran for it, jumped, and I did not land gracefully because I tried to stop my momentum on the landing and I should have kept moving instead. So I landed and I just flopped over as soon as I landed. Whereas one of my buddies landed and kept moving for a couple steps and it was fine. But yeah, because I was worried about a foot going into the creek or whatever. So yeah, I should have kept the momentum going, blah, blah, blah. But I learned that from it and I made it anyway. I made it. It wasn't perfect and I learned something from it. Same deal with the game dev. You're going to make it. It's not going to be perfect. And you're going to release it anyway. And then you're going to learn from it. And then you can try again down the road. Here's a question for you. Is there any skill in your game development process that is holding you back consciously? I'm not saying this is a little bit of an issue and I could improve it more and it's a little bit of a bottleneck, whatever. But is there one that comes up and makes you go, I'm not going to explore that idea, right? Is there a skill that over and over and over you go, oh, well, I would love to do that, but I'm just not a good coder. I'm just not good with that engine. I'm just not good with this style. I'm just not good at storytelling, whatever. And it keeps coming up over and over and over again. Is that happening? I'm curious if this has happened to other people. If you're having that experience, what is that skill that's getting in the way? And how rough would it be to take a little time and work on that skill? Because for me, it's art. And God dang it, I got to do it again. I got to work on art again. I've worked on it on stream. I've worked on the pixel art thing, the art, man, it's always getting in my way. And it's time to work on it again. So be it. Here we go, right? So that's what I'm doing. Hop in, tell me what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. The usual. Feel free to share as much or as little as you want to. No pressure. But if you want to show your artwork, by the way, in the Discord, feel free. The other day I posted just one of the worst drawings because I was really proud of it. I bet if anybody else looks at it, they're probably like, oh my God, Chris, come on, man. Somebody said it reminded them of a character out of King of the Hill, Hank's dad, whose name I'm forgetting right now. And I looked at it, I was like, oh, it kind of does. It kind of has a little bit of that energy. But it's a bad drawing. But I wanted to share it because I was proud of it. And I know looking back at it, it's not that good, right? And that's the thing about creative progress. You're going to make something and you're going to look back at it and you're going to, oh, that's not that good. Now that's proof that you're learning. So I'm learning. And I like sharing the learning process, right? That's kind of where this podcast is coming from. I have one last note on the good projects are scary front. This podcast was terrifying to start making. The first episode of this podcast, I think I spent 4 hours trying to record that freaking episode. And it's not because I was making it particularly good. And that's separate from all the music that I had already made for it. Just recording. I think it was just so many takes of oh, that's bad. Oh, that's bad. Oh, that's bad. Redoing it over and over and over again. It was terrifying. And then I got better and I got more comfortable with it. And I got to a point where I can sit down and I can record and it won't take me all freaking day. But I'm really glad that I've tackled this project because we built a little bit of a community. There are people who I can connect with about game development now. There are people who can connect with each other through this podcast. And on a personal level, I've learned a lot about how I think about game development. I've learned a lot about the games that I've played and how they've influenced me and where my kind of sticking points are in the development process. And I've noticed, because I have a voice in the back of my head sometimes where I go, people are listening to this every week. They must notice that you've been stuck for a couple weeks. And they go, oh, well, I've got to get unstuck. If I didn't have the podcast, I would be like, whatever, it's fine. No, it's only been a little bit. And then I would just remain stuck for a year and a half, right? The podcast helps me move forward. It's kind of a little bit of accountability. Sometimes that's the scary part of a new project, is it holds you accountable because you're producing something. And it holds you accountable, and that's good. Even though that kind of sucks. Because then you can look at it and you go, oh, well, you know what? I'm not making as much progress as I wanted. Well, congratulations. Now you actually know that. And now you can take action to move in whatever direction you want to move in. Because you took the bold move of actually putting yourself out there on a topic that you care about. So, takeaway from this episode, if I may be so incredibly egotistical as to make a suggestion to you, even though you are probably more experienced than me in many, many ways, probably including game development. Most of my audience knows way more about programming than I do, at the very least. But my one suggestion that I feel comfortable making is, if something's scary, but you know you can do it, give it a swing. You know, that's all. All right. Thank you all for listening. I appreciate it. And I will see you in the next episode. Until then, get out there, make some stuff, and have fun with it. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.